Greasy.
Oily.
This is actually oddly satisfying.
That has been broken for a very long time.
Likely one of the only in
ones
Canada.
in Canada.
So we are going to fire it up and make sure we have oil coming out of each injector. Question.
Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So today we are changing the O-rings on the injectors.
So in the morning, after it sits overnight, we have a little bit of blue smoke, but if it sits even for 5 or 6 hours, it doesn't. So I'm assuming that the O-rings on the injectors are probably shot, and it's letting a little bit of either fuel or oil down into the engine overnight. So we're gonna take them out and see if they are shot or not. Okay, so the first thing we're gonna do here is just take the valve covers off. And then there is a trick with these 7.3s, and I believe that the 6 liters are the same. Don't quote me on that, I'm not 100% sure. But because they use the engine oil to fire the injector, it has to get rid of the oil after it's used to pressurize the fuel in the injector. So there's like an exhaust port for the oil. So if you take your valve covers off and you fire up your engine, you can go and look at each individual injector to make sure that oil is coming out. If oil is not coming out, then you have an injector that's not firing. Either the tip is plugged or just the injector is screwed. So we're gonna double check that and make sure our injectors are all functioning properly, and that'll rule that out, and then what's left is just changing the O-rings. The last time I did O-rings on one of these, it was also from, I think that one was the 94, and they were still in there. They were just quite worn down and corroded, and as soon as I changed them, I stopped getting blue smoke in the morning. So that's kind of what I'm leaning towards. Oh, there we go. So what I was saying earlier, the exhaust port for the injector is this gray thing right here. So when it's actually firing, you'll be able to see oil coming out from underneath this piece, shooting down back kind of against the base of the injector out of all of them. And then you'll be able to know that they are actually firing properly.
Bearing food. I shall help myself to your hero.
Like you always do anyways.
Why don't you do a quick little thing about what makes the truck so special?
It's a crew cab short box. It's the rarest configuration that Ford made. It's a limited, so it's the absolute top of the line. Like there is not one higher. The factory leather is what makes it like unbelievably rare. I can only find one picture online of another factory leather.
What if this is the only one in Alberta?
It's likely one of the only in Canada. I would not be surprised if it's the only running limited in Canada.
Wow. Oh.
We'll have to put that together in a better way. Yeah, that has been broken for a very long time.
We are going to fire up the truck. Okay, so we're about to fire it up just to make sure all of our injectors are firing properly. There's a couple of things you want to just make sure are out of the way. On this side, you have the harness for the engine going across over top of the valve cover. I just zip tied it up to this AC line just to make sure it's not touching anything under there. Just make sure nothing's gonna hit the rockers or the injectors while it's running. So we are gonna fire it up and make sure we have oil coming out of each injector. Okay, so all of the injectors had oil coming out of them. All of them were firing. This one injector had a little bit less oil than the rest. I'm not sure why that is. We're gonna take a look at that injector in particular. Maybe the tip is dirty and it's not firing all the way. I do have an entire set of replacement injectors, but it was still firing. So we're gonna start taking them out. It's pretty simple. There are these yellow connectors on it. These come off, and then it is one bolt down at the bottom, and you slide this collar up, and the whole thing should just pop right out. We will have to take the glow plugs back out. All of them have to be out for when we fire up the vehicle because oil and gas and diesel are going to go down to the cylinder. You don't want to hydro lock. So you take the glow plugs out, you crank it over with the injector harnesses disconnected, and then that should blow everything out. You want to make sure you have the valve covers on there. Once that's done, you throw the glow plugs back in, connect the injector connectors, and put the valve covers on, and then you're good to start up. Okay, so what you want to do is you want to drain the oil galley to have less oil spilling into the cylinders. That's this thing here. There's 2 plugs on each side, one right here and one back here. To get to those, you need to take your valve cover and injector harness off. It's the same thing. So it's just these 2 big plugs, and then you have to unplug every injector and each glow plug, and then it comes off. So it's a good opportunity to inspect your valve cover, gasket, and harness. I'll look at each of these wires to make sure there's nothing like bare in here as well. In the connectors, I have a little bit of dirt in this one connector, so we'll have to clean these out a little bit. And then also inspect the actual harness that's in the truck, obviously. This is a good time to replace this gasket as well. And I mean, if you're having injector issues, it might also be the connector here. So have a good look over this. These are often an issue. And just replace it if it is. Okay, so what we're going to do now is remove those 2 Allen bolts. That's going to drain the oil out of the head, which will really reduce the amount of oil that will fall down into your cylinders. So that is the next thing, and there's 2 of them per head. As soon as you take it out, oil should come out. Yeah, and it takes a while to drain the oil out. So you certainly do not want to lose these. The truck will not run without them. That one doesn't want to come. That sucks. Yeah, that one's not going to come, I don't think. Okay, so as you can see, oil is coming out of this drain hole. I was able to get this one out. Unfortunately, this one is starting to strip, so I'm just going to leave it in there. Get as much oil out of this one as I can. Unfortunately, the engine is tips back slightly, so there's a little bit more back here. It would have been nice to get this one off. That is just how it is, I guess. So we'll have to definitely take the glow plugs out and have all that oil get shot out. It's likely going to be pretty smoky when we first start it up, just from that and the extra little bit of diesel that'll fall into there. Okay, moment of truth for this last one. Oh, got it. Nice.
You know what sucks?
What?
We literally just put these in and now we have to do the same thing like...
I know, but this, trust me, this will be a lot faster, this thing. Okay, so while I am letting the head drain of oil, I'm going to take the glow plugs out. Now we just put these in about a week ago. And if you watched that video, you'll remember I struggled to get them out because I didn't have a hose. This is what we're going to use, and I'll show you how to do that. And it makes the job considerably easier once you can get this in there. You don't have to struggle with the socket hitting the rocker arm. So you just slip the hose over the end, and then you can twist it off and just pull it right out. It makes it a lot easier than trying to use a socket. Okay, it probably doesn't matter with these, but I am going to try to remember what order they went into and which cylinder they're in. So I'm just going to put them down over here in sequence.
We spent like, what, an hour and a half trying to get all those glow plugs out with the pliers?
Yes, I know, and it only maybe about half an hour to change them if I had this tool. It's the hose I used the very first time I
Why
did
didn't
this.
you have it the first time?
I was meaning to grab it, but I forgot.
Oh, I need the rag. Oh, right here. Come on. Look at it. All that shiny oil.
Okay, so doing the glow plugs on this truck just now took about 10 minutes to do all of them. If you watched the video before, it actually took us probably 45 minutes to an hour to get all of them out. And that's all down to this tube. It makes such a huge difference. You don't have to mess around with the socket getting caught on the rocker arm and then trying to get pliers in there to get it. If you do have one that is stuck, like we had one that was stuck, this probably won't work. I really had to pull it out with pliers. But for the rest of them, this would have worked awesome and we would have been done so much quicker. Okay, so to get the injectors out, it's one 8mm bolt at the bottom of the injector. Then you have a bit of a collar. You'll see when we take it out that slides up, and you throw a pry bar under there. Pry on that pry bar and the injector should just lift out. Just like that. And there we go. Okay, so this is the injector. This is the collar I was talking about. You have one bolt back here that you have to take out, and then it slides forwards. And you push up on that and the whole thing comes out. So this is the exhaust port that I was showing you guys earlier when we were running the truck. Oil comes out of there and here and just falls down. So looking at these O-rings, this bottom one is definitely bagged as well as this top one. So on here there are 4 O-rings. You have the bottom one here, one right here, and then 2 up here. And then you have the copper nut down there. So we're gonna change all of those out. Is this cool?
Yes.
Wish I had some dye self so I can clean the tips. I wish I had a little more room for a workbench here.
Well, all your tools are everywhere.
No, they're not.
Oh, they're everywhere. Got all that good oil in your skin?
Yeah, my hands are really soft now.
I doubt it's good for you.
Alright, so I am going to just use a 90-degree pick, get one out at a time. I am going to do one injector at a time, just so I don't put the wrong one into the wrong hole. It's also a good opportunity to take a look at the tip and maybe clean it off if it is too dirty.
I just can't get over how big they are compared to like
The 24 valve that we did?
Yeah, they're huge.
Well, they are considerably different. The 24 valve has the fuel going into the top, and it's also not electronic like this one is. They're mechanically going, and this one is hydraulic and electronic. The oil goes into one of them and then is pressurized, and so it makes it shoot at 21,000 psi, which is the equivalent of a modern truck. So they're actually really ahead of their time. Okay, so I got all the new O-rings on. The last thing to go on is this copper washer. If it didn't come out with your injector, it's in the injector cup. And again, 90-degree pick, just get in there and get it out. Okay, so we have the copper washer on, all the O-rings. Now we're just gonna put this injector back in before we move on. We are going to oil up each of the O-rings nicely so they slide in easy. And then they'll just push in again, give them a little tap, just to be able to get the collar down. And then you can push down on the collar and use that to go in.
Are you trying to get it out or put it in?
Put it in. There's just no room. So this one can be a bit of a problem. There's just not a whole lot of room. Sometimes if it gets stuck, if you can get it in far enough that the front bolt goes into here and it's kind of like this, you can put a bit of a, I don't know what to call it. Take something like this and just put it on the bottom of the collar and just give it a little tap just to finish seating it. And it just seated itself.
So now we got all the injectors out of this side, and we're getting started on the other side. Okay. This is actually oddly satisfying. Don't you think it's fun?
Yes, I enjoy doing that.
I'm like a surgeon. Look at my hands.
There you go, Leah. Now you can put into the video that it's an easy enough job that even my wife can do it.
I actually believe that I got off the old O-rings quicker than you did. I have little fingers, and they're useful. 2 more to go?
Including this one, 2.5. And then clearing the motor of oil and diesel.
Oh, fun.
We put the valve covers on with just like 4 bolts, and then we crank the motor over.
Oh, I did drip a little bit of oil down in there.
Drip a lot of oil into there.
Is that bad? It's gonna smell pretty bad.
Well, it'll certainly smoke when we start it up for a while, and we have to let it run. We're gonna shoot all of that oil and diesel out by starting with the glow plugs out. Okay, so we are just gonna put the valve covers back on and turn over the motor to empty the oil out of the cylinders. Make sure you put those plugs in on the oil galleys, or else you'll just be losing all oil pressure and dumping more oil into the cylinders. So you do have to put the valve cover gaskets and injector harness in so that there's enough room for the covers. And then it just put on 4 bolts, whichever 4 are easiest, because we're going to be taking them back off again. So I have the injector wires plugged in onto the actual injector. Just move the glow plug wire out of the way because oil is going to be shooting up out of the hole. And you also don't want it getting pinched in the rocker assembly. Okay, so we're not starting up the truck. We're just going to be turning it over. Alright, now we take everything off. Okay, so now that we've cranked that over, that would have shot all the oil and diesel out of glow plug holes. Now we're going to take the valve covers back off and put the glow plugs back in and connect everything up. And then we'll be starting it. So once you go to start it, if all of a sudden it goes clunk and you hear a really loud clunk, do not keep trying to start it. You've hydro-locked the motor. What you need to do is go back in and take the glow plugs back out and redo that whole process. You didn't quite crank it over enough.
Alrighty.
Take the valve cover off.
Yes, sir. Greasy, greasy.
No. Oily, oily.
Oh, oily, oily.
That. You know where the hole is?
Yes.
If it doesn't want to go, don't force it, obviously.
No, it's going really easy. Oh, that is very easy with the hose.
Yes. It makes a world of difference.
I've got the easy side.
Yes, that side is very easy. That's
alright, you can have the hard side.
Okay, so I have the valve covers back on, all the glow plugs are in. I still have the injector harnesses unplugged. I'm gonna go turn it over a bit more just to double check that one, is not hydro locked, and two, just get some more fuel pressure and some oil pressure up there before we really try to start it. Okay, now injector harnesses, and we're gonna fire her up. We'll see if she starts. Probably has a lot of air in the system. Oh yeah, lots of air. Hopefully there's enough battery that it'll start. I might have to push the truck out to jump it off my dad's truck. Push. Keep pushing.
Come on. Thank you for watching the video and good night.
There's quite a bit of air in there, but there is a lot of fuel coming.
Yes! Woo!
Well, I knew it would come soon.
Yeah?
Well, yeah. As soon as I heard it kind of cough, it was just like, oh, it wouldn't turn on. Cool. Alright, so that was changing the injector O-rings. There's a lot of air that's in the system, so it took a lot of crank to get going. Just have to leave the pressure out of the regulator on the side of the fuel bowl, and it will eventually start up. Alright, well, I hope you guys liked that video, so like and subscribe if you did.